Imagine that one day you find an unusual bracelet, and from that moment on your life begins to change in the most amazing way. Are you ready to find out what happens when dreams come true? Mysterious bracelet. Emily sat across from Daniel, her eyes lowered, tracing an invisible pattern only she could see on the pristine white tablecloth. Why does it always happen this way? Why? She wondered. Emily had met Daniel at work. He was the manager of a wholesale supply company and often purchased goods from her firm. You might think their meeting was no coincidence. That Daniel was just trying to get a better deal through Emily? Or maybe Emily thought that if they started dating, Daniel would buy more from her, and her commission would go up? No, definitely not. That simply wasn't possible, because Emily was just a regular accountant, responsible for a small section in the vast maze of the company's finances. Daniel had simply noticed her one day and liked her. He found her number, and they started texting. And interestingly enough, Emily liked him too. They were always in touch, talking about everything under the sun. Of course, Emily immediately started making plans for their future together, eagerly anticipating their first real-life meeting, imagining how it would go, who would say what. She played out different scenarios in her head, all ending the same way, at the altar. And now, here they were, sitting across from each other in silence for half an hour. Emily tried to ask about this and that, but the conversation just wouldn't flow. It was always like this no matter who she met. First lively texting and then in-person endless silence. Emily picked up her spoon and stirred her now cold tea, though she hadn't added any sugar. This farce has to end, she thought. She glanced at her watch. Wow, look at the time. Daniel, I should get going, she said. Deep down, Emily hoped Daniel would ask her to stay. That would mean there was still hope. But he just said, "Of course I should get going too. I have an important meeting in the morning." Emily sighed inwardly, realizing it was over. This meeting was just wasted time. No romance, no wedding, no kids, nothing. Was it really that bad? Asked her coworker Megan the next day. Emily nodded. You just sat there in silence? Megan couldn't believe it. Emily nodded again. That's so strange. Exactly. Emily joined in. We texted each other all day and night. She fell silent. Maybe you weren't really texting him? Maybe he had someone else do it. Megan suggested. I don't know. Did he text you after your date? Megan asked. He did. See, it's not over. There'll be another date and it'll work out, Megan said, trying to cheer her up. Emily just waved her hand. What other date? He wrote. Thank you for a lovely evening. That's it. Not a word since. Megan was about to say something else when their coworker Steve walked over. Megan, I fixed everything for you. It should work now, he said. Thanks, Steve. Well, Emily, back to work. Don't be sad, everything will be fine. Megan winked. It's easy for everyone to say things will be fine, Emily thought. She really didn't understand what could possibly be good about always failing, both in her personal life and at work. Did she want to work here, in this company, handling this tiny section of accounting? Of course not. She'd almost landed a job at a bigger firm, with a higher salary and better prospects. She was so happy when they called and told her to start. She dreamed up so much. But when she arrived, they apologized and said they'd already hired someone else. All her dreams shattered once again. Emily opened the door to her apartment. Emily, hi. Her mom called from the kitchen. Honey, we've been invited to a barbecue this weekend. Want to come? Her dad asked, stepping into the hallway. The Johnsons? Emily asked. Yes. And you're even asking? Of course I'll go. Are we going fishing too? Wherever you want. Fishing, berry picking, you name it. Yay! Emily cheered. From that moment, all she could think about was the upcoming trip to her parents' friends and the fun they'd have. On Monday, Emily arrived at work early as usual. Only Megan and Steve were there. Steve was at Megan's desk fixing something while Megan paced the room. Hey Emily, can you believe it? My settings are all messed up again. How does this keep happening? Megan grumbled. She passed Emily once, twice, then stopped and looked at her. Emily, why do you look so down? Did something happen again? Emily shook her head. No, nothing really. I just really wanted to go to my parents' friends this weekend. But their car broke down and they canceled everything. Oh, I see. I was really looking forward to it. Tell me about it. You talked our ears off about it, Megan muttered. I imagined how we'd go, how the weather would be perfect, how we'd go fishing in the morning and I'd catch a huge fish. Emily spread her arms wide. Wait. Stop. Megan suddenly halted in front of Emily. I get it. Emily stared at her in surprise. Get what? Look, you get all excited about something. Dream about how great it'll be, and then it all goes wrong. That's it. Megan raised her finger. You need to do the opposite. The opposite? Emily looked confused. Yes. You started texting Daniel and immediately imagined marriage, kids, the whole deal. You should have told yourself, nothing will come of this, and then maybe you'd have had a chance. Emily blinked. What? It's true. Same with your trip. You planned every detail and waited for it. You should have told yourself it wasn't that great an idea, but you'd go along for your parents' sake. Then for sure the trip would have happened. Okay, Megan, enough talking, Steve interrupted. I fixed everything. Hopefully you won't need me again soon. Sometimes I think you mess up your settings just to see me. He winked. Megan blushed. Don't be ridiculous. Thanks for fixing it. Now get out of here. She shooed him away. Emily laughed. Megan's theory stuck with Emily. Days passed, but she kept thinking about it. Megan was right. How many times had Emily thought she'd ace an exam because she was well prepared, only to barely pass? But if she thought she'd fail, she'd get easy questions and top marks. Maybe she really should start expecting the worst? Emily pushed open the heavy office door. Emily! Emily! Called Natalie from reception. This is for you. Natalie handed her a small package. What is it? No idea. A courier dropped it off for you. Emily took the package to the lounge and opened it. Inside was a small jewelry box. Could it really be something valuable? She opened it. A beautiful bracelet. For a moment Emily was stunned. No one had ever given her anything like this. Who could it be from? Maybe Daniel? Hope flickered in her heart. Maybe if they met again, things would work out. She found a small card in the package. Wear this bracelet when you want your wish to come true. And it will. That was it. Emily put the bracelet back and headed to her office, wondering who could have sent her such a gift. The next day, Emily got ready for work, glanced in the mirror and took out the bracelet. She turned it over in her hands. It just matches my suit. Doesn't mean I believe what the card said, she told herself. A second later, the bracelet was on her wrist. As she walked to the bus stop, she thought, wishes can't come true just because you're wearing a certain bracelet or ring. That's not how life works. Or does it? Some people do have lucky charms. Her bus arrived. Of course, all the seats were taken, so she stood by the window, her favorite spot. The bus started moving, and Emily watched the scenery fly by, smiling to herself. Suddenly, someone behind her bumped into her. Nothing unusual. She moved aside. Then another bump. She moved again. After the third, she turned and saw a middle-aged woman who had pushed her away from the window and stepped on her foot without even apologizing. "Got a problem?" The woman's voice was harsh. Emily decided not to answer and turned away, disappointed to lose her favorite spot. If only a ticket inspector would show up. And that woman didn't have a ticket and got fined. Emily thought, knowing it was impossible. No inspector would squeeze through a packed bus at rush hour. The bus stopped and started again. Suddenly, a voice behind her. "Tickets, please." Emily couldn't believe her ears. She turned. There really was an inspector. And the woman who'd pushed her didn't have a ticket. She was escorted off at the next stop, loudly complaining, and Emily reclaimed her favorite spot, her mood restored. Emily got off at her stop and headed to the office. "Emily! Emily!" called her marketing manager, Susan. "Few caught up with you. Why haven't you processed my payments yet?" Emily sighed. Susan was always on her case. Didn't she know why? None of her marketing team had bothered to get the necessary signatures. "Susan, you know we have a process. Without a signature, I can't process the payments," Emily began, but Susan cut her off. "I really need this done. I'm sorry, but it's impossible without the signature." They walked into the office together, and Emily tried to slip away as quickly as possible. If only Susan would call in sick for a week. Not seeing her for a whole week would be bliss. Emily thought as she walked to her desk. "Wow, is that a new bracelet?" Megan asked. "Let me see." "Only from a distance," Emily smiled. "Did Daniel give it to you?" "No. Why would you think that?" "It's beautiful. I feel like I've seen it somewhere before, but I can't remember where." After Megan mentioned Daniel, Emily's mood dropped again. If only Daniel would show up right now with a bouquet of flowers and ask to start over. Emily thought, sighing. If he wanted to, he would have written by now. And just then the door opened and Daniel really did walk in. Not with a bouquet, but with a single rose. "Emily, this is for you. Can we talk?" he asked. "Of course." Emily nodded to the chair, inviting him to sit. "Emily, I know our date didn't go well, but maybe we could try again," he said. "All right," Emily nodded. "I'll text you, okay?" "Yes, of course." Daniel left and Megan whistled. "Wow, Emily, maybe it really will work out the second time." "Megan, don't embarrass me, okay?" Later that day, their coworker Rachel from sales popped in. "Oh, look at your shoes." Megan was the first to notice. "Aren't they gorgeous?" Rachel beamed. "Got them on sale." "How much were they?" Emily asked, admiring the shoes and thinking maybe she should get something similar. "Expensive. But sometimes you have to treat yourself. They're so comfortable." Then Rachel named the price, and Emily thought how nice it must be for Rachel, with her higher salary. Wouldn't it be great if Emily got a raise too? Rachel's phone rang. It was her boss, the chief accountant, asking her to come by. "Well, girls, it's been fun, but duty calls. The boss wants me." Emily stretched and headed to her own boss's office. "No way. This can't be happening." Emily stared at her computer screen. Unbelievable. It was almost funny. Just 5 minutes ago, she'd thought how nice it would be to get a raise. And suddenly she got one. Then she remembered she'd wished Daniel would ask her out again. And he did. And the woman on the bus. She'd wished for the inspector to show up, and it happened. And she'd wished Susan would call in sick. But Susan was still at work. The door opened and Susan herself walked in. "Emily, here you go. Everything's signed. I expect the payments. Girls, I won't be in today or probably tomorrow. I'm sick." Susan left. Emily stared at her bracelet. Could it really be granting her wishes? Was it possible that wearing it made her wishes come true? No, that couldn't be. She had to test it. What should she wish for? Emily rubbed her temples. No clever ideas came to mind, so she wished for the first thing that popped up. "I wish Daniel would cancel our second date." And right on cue her phone buzzed, a text from Daniel. "Sorry, I can't meet up." Suddenly Emily felt scared. She unclasped the bracelet, took it off and put it in her bag. Time passed. Emily's life changed. Outwardly it wasn't obvious, but Emily knew that all her wishes could come true. All she had to do was put on that magical bracelet. She wore it but not often. And when she did, she tried not to wish anything bad for anyone. One morning, Emily flung open her curtains and froze at the beauty outside. It had snowed overnight, and now everything sparkled in the streetlights. Emily smiled and started getting ready for work. She looked at her reflection in her business suit and winked at herself. For some reason, she suddenly thought that today she would meet her future husband. So she put on her lucky bracelet, wished to meet her future husband, and left for work. At the office, Emily sat at her desk and tried to turn on her computer. She pressed the button but nothing happened. "Looks like my computer's broken," Emily said loudly. "Now what?" "Well, call Steve," Megan replied. Emily dialed Steve's number, but there was no answer. She started to get nervous. She really needed to finish a report. No luck. "I'll go look for him." Emily jumped up and hurried out of the office. She went to Steve's office, tried the door, it was locked. She headed to reception to see if he'd come in yet. "Yes, Steve's here," Natalie said, and Emily rushed back to his office, but it was still locked. Why didn't I just call his cell? Emily thought, frustrated. "Emily, are you waiting for me?" Steve's voice suddenly called out. "Sorry, I was with the sales team." Emily turned and was stunned. She'd always seen Steve in baggy shirts and jeans, just an ordinary guy no one noticed. But now he stood before her in a suit, looking like someone any girl would want to walk beside. Emily couldn't believe how much clothes could change a person. He even seemed taller. "Hi. Yes, I'm waiting. Can you look at my computer?" Emily said, then added, unable to resist. "Are you going somewhere today?" "I hope so," Steve smiled. "What are you doing tonight?" "Nothing." "Then I'd like to invite you for a walk around the city," Steve said unexpectedly. "Me?" Emily was surprised. "Yes, you. And you can't say no." "Wait a minute. Let's check your computer." Steve opened his office, took off his jacket, and rolled up his sleeves. Something on his wrist caught the light. Emily looked closer and realized it was a bracelet, exactly like hers. "I wasn't going to say no to a walk," Emily said. "I'd love to." At that moment, she felt she'd made the right choice. Steve smiled, and for a moment, Emily felt a warmth she hadn't experienced in a long time. As he leaned over her computer, she glanced again at the bracelet on his wrist. It was identical to hers, delicate with a small shimmering charm. "Steve, where did you get that bracelet?" she asked, unable to hide her curiosity. He looked at her, surprised, then grinned. Funny you should ask. It was a gift. No note, just showed up at my place one day. I thought it looked cool, so I started wearing it. Why? Emily hesitated, then rolled up her sleeve to reveal her own bracelet. I got one too. Same way. And well, strange things have been happening ever since. Steve's eyes widened. You too? Like what? Emily laughed nervously. It's going to sound crazy, but sometimes when I wish for something while wearing it, it comes true. Not always the way I expect, but still. Steve nodded slowly. I thought it was just me. I wished for a promotion, and the next day my boss announced he was leaving and I got his job. I wished for a new friend and suddenly, you started talking to me more. They looked at each other, a mix of disbelief and excitement in their eyes. Maybe, Steve said softly, these bracelets brought us together for a reason. Emily smiled, feeling hope blossom inside her. Maybe they did. That evening as they walked through the city lights, Emily realized that sometimes, life's magic isn't in the wishes that come true, but in the unexpected ways the universe brings people together. And for the first time in a long while, she was ready to see where this new story would lead. As they strolled through the crisp evening air, the city around them sparkled with the glow of streetlights and the distant hum of life. Emily felt lighter than she had in months, her worries melting away with each step. They talked about everything: work, childhood memories, favorite books, and silly dreams. The conversation flowed easily, laughter coming naturally, as if they'd known each other for years instead of just a few months at the office. At one point they paused on a small bridge overlooking the river. The water reflected the city lights, shimmering like 1,000 tiny stars. Steve leaned on the railing, glancing at Emily. You know, he said, I used to think I was just unlucky. Like no matter how hard I tried, things never worked out the way I wanted. But lately, I've started to believe that maybe things happen for a reason, even the disappointments. Emily nodded, understanding exactly what he meant. I used to feel the same way. But now, I think sometimes we just need a little nudge. Or maybe a little magic. They both smiled, glancing down at their matching bracelets. Do you think we should make a wish? Steve asked, half joking, half serious. Emily grinned. Only if we wish for the same thing. They closed their eyes for a moment, the city quiet around them. When they opened their eyes, they didn't need to say what they'd wished for. It was written in their smiles, in the gentle way their hands found each other's. As they walked back, Emily realized that the real magic wasn't in the bracelet, but in the courage to hope again, and in the unexpected, wonderful possibility of new beginnings. And for the first time in a long time, she truly believed that anything was possible. The days that followed felt different for Emily. She woke up each morning with a sense of anticipation, a quiet excitement that made even the most ordinary moments feel special. At work, she and Steve exchanged secret smiles and inside jokes, their friendship deepening with every conversation. One afternoon, as they sat together in the break room, Steve turned to her with a thoughtful look. Do you ever wonder who sent us those bracelets? He asked. Emily nodded. All the time. But maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe what matters is what we do with the wishes we're given. Steve smiled. I like that. Besides, I think I've already gotten my best wish. Emily blushed, her heart fluttering. Me too. As the weeks passed, Emily noticed she no longer relied on the bracelet for her wishes. She wore it less often, realizing that the real changes in her life had come from her own choices, from opening up, taking chances, and letting herself believe in happiness again. One snowy Saturday, Steve invited her to a small cafe by the river. They sat by the window watching the snowflakes drift down, sipping hot chocolate. Steve reached across the table, gently taking her hand. "Emily, I know we haven't known each other that long, but I feel like I've been waiting for you my whole life. Would you like to see where this goes? Together?" Emily's eyes sparkled. "I'd love that." Outside, the city was quiet and peaceful, blanketed in white. Inside, Emily felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the hot chocolate or the cozy cafe. She realized that sometimes the universe gives you a little push, a magical bracelet, a chance encounter, a second look at someone you thought you already knew. And as she squeezed Steve's hand, Emily knew that her greatest wish had already come true. From that day on, Emily and Steve's lives became beautifully intertwined. They spent weekends exploring the city, discovering hidden parks and quirky bookstores, sharing stories and dreams over endless cups of coffee. Their colleagues at work soon noticed the change. How Emily's laughter came more easily, how Steve seemed more confident and at ease. The bracelets, once a source of mystery and wonder, became simple reminders of how far they'd come. Sometimes, Emily would catch a glimpse of hers in the mirror and smile, remembering the days when she thought happiness was something that happened to other people. One spring evening, as they walked hand in hand through a blooming garden, Steve stopped and turned to her, his eyes full of warmth. "Emily, do you remember the first wish you made with your bracelet?" he asked. She thought for a moment, then laughed softly. "I think I wished for love, even if I didn't realize it at the time." Steve squeezed her hand. "I think I did too." They stood together, surrounded by the scent of flowers and the gentle hum of the city, feeling as if the world had quietly shifted to make room for their happiness. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Emily realized that the true magic wasn't in the bracelet or the wishes, but in the courage to hope, the willingness to try again, and the joy of finding someone to share it all with. And as they walked home together, Emily knew that whatever the future held, she was exactly where she was meant to be. Friends, this story is a reminder that miracles happen when we are open to change and not afraid to believe in the best. Sometimes it seems like happiness is something distant and unattainable, but in reality it all starts with ourselves, with our thoughts, actions, and willingness to let something new into our lives. In the story, the bracelets became a symbol of magic, but the real magic lies in people, in their hope, courage, and ability to notice the signs of fate. Sometimes just one small step is enough to change everything. What do you think? Who gave Emily and Steve those mysterious bracelets? Share your theories in the comments. I'd love to read your thoughts. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new audio stories. Thank you for listening.